Hello and welcome everybody to the Your Best Self podcast, where I get to interview successful and or inspiring people just like Hernan Vazquez, who will share his story to where he is now, because Hernan is an absolutely incredible dude. He is the no BS guy behind Frank Kern and Grant Cardone. He launched several seven-figure training businesses and spent over $7 million in ads last year. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. And I'm very, very excited for today's interview, because I want to start off with sort of like his entrepreneurial journey to where he is now. And then in the second half of the podcast, I would love to go deep into paid advertising and what he can share with you and just tickle as many golden nuggets out of him as I can. So with that said, Hernan, welcome to the interview. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that introduction. It's really good to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so Hernan, please share a little bit about yourself and where you basically come from and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing this internet marketing thing for the past 10, almost 11 years.
Wow.
And I started back in the day. Let me give you a little bit of a backstory, if you would.
Yeah.
I started, so I had 10 years ago, I had a really comfortable job here in Argentina. I was finishing college, university, and I'm originally from Buenos Aires. And I had a really comfortable job here. I was doing recruiting and HR for a big company here, and I was comfortable there. But then, you know, one of the things that I thought about was like, okay, so if I spend the next 10 years here in this company, what could happen, right? I might end up in a middle management position or something like that. And then what could happen at that point if I would ahead and, you know, dedicate the next 10 years of my life for my own business, right? Whatever that was at the time. So I decided to, you know, take a step to the side, decided to take a plunge into this entrepreneurial thing, whatever that was back then. And the first gig that I got as a freelancer out of, you know, immediately out of, you know, that company was the same company hiring me to do the same thing that I was doing on the inside, but do it as a freelancer, you know, like a headhunting type stuff. So I said, okay, well, and I was paying like 10 times as much, right, than my salary. So I was like, okay, well, there's something here, you know? Yeah. So that was the first thing. But the company, the guys that hired me, which was my old boss, he told me, all right, so I need you to send me a website, because, you know, we want to hire you, want to hire a company, you know, or you as an individual, but you need to put together a website and a couple of things. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? So I learn basically how to build a website. I'm not a coder. I'm not a guy that can write a line of code. Yeah. So what I learned pretty much in a week or two was the fact that, you know, you need to get a website, you need to get a domain, and then you need to get a hosting, and then I installed WordPress. And then I started doing, you know, I deploy a theme on the WordPress, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, I sent that, and it turned out okay. So I kept on doing that for a little bit. And but you know, it wasn't my thing, recruiting HR. Well, sometimes I still do it. It's not my main gig. And but the web design side of things, I said, okay, well, this is cool. So I started offering that to some contacts, and some people started, you know, getting that and decided to, you know, hire me to build their websites and whatnot. It was like WordPress websites with themes, you know, that was it. Yeah. And that was kind of rolling and going, you know, with ups and downs and whatnot. I didn't know how to generate leads for that business. It was mostly like referral type stuff. And at the same time, I was moving to a nice city called Cordoba here in Argentina. It's like in the center south of the country, and it gets really, really cold down there, right? Yeah. And we moved in winter, and she had a job. I didn't. I was doing this, you know, from time to time, a website and whatnot. And it got really, really tight, financially tight, to an extent that we had to either choose to put food on the table or heat up the house, right? Wow. So it was like that tight. And what happened there is that, you know, I started learning. I started, you know, consuming a bunch of different courses and going in the forums and asking questions and, you know, finding the next best thing or little bots and whatnot. And somebody introduced me to Fiverr.com back in the day. And I opened a website, a profile there on Fiverr.com. And you know, it was back in the day when everything cost $5. $5, yeah. It wasn't, you know, right now when you can go and hire people for $50, $100, $200 right now, you know, back there it was like all $5 $5,
Mm-hmm.
and I could write articles, and there was a demand for article writers in English. So I took that demand. I started writing articles for $4 a pop, because Fiverr would keep $1. So I started, getting $4 a pop. I was like, okay, well, this is my first online gig, for people that do not know who I am. And, but the reality is that was kind of rough, because I was, chugging along. I was typing 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, huddled on my laptop, 3 sweaters because I was freezing and whatnot.
Oh, no.
But that was like my first, that was like my first real experience when it comes to generating money online, quote unquote. And then what happened is that, some people started hiring me out of Fiverr. And, I started talking to them. Hey, I know this about web design and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. So some people started hiring me for, to build in their websites. And when that happened, they started needing traffic to that website, to those websites. So I started learning about SEO, which was, the main thing back there, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or even further. And I started learning about SEO and, how to run websites. I became pretty good at it. And I started brainstorming with a bunch of guys in the US, which was, I joined a community called Dynasty by Alex Becker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by Alex Becker. This was like, again, 7 years ago. And I started brainstorming with these guys. They all had their own agencies. They were doing SEO in some capacity for clients. And that, that was the beginning of what's now Semantic Mastery, which is one of my companies, which, we're 5 partners. And that was the company that got the 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels this year.
Oh,
so,
nice.
So that was that. And then we launched our first training product for other digital agency owners. And then what happened is that we started needing traffic for our own funnels, for Semantic Mastery funnels, right?
Yeah.
So I had my clients on the side, I had Semantic Mastery, and I had to learn how to deliver traffic fast. And that's how I started doing Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And that was like, 6 years ago, I started, doing Facebook ads. We started generating a bunch of leads, a bunch of sales for our own training programs. And then, out of that, I started networking with some other people, that needed Facebook ads, being super helpful in some groups and some forums. That's how I met Dan Henry. I ran ads for a little bit, for him during, I think a period of time, around a year and whatnot.
Awesome.
And, the rest is history. So now I'm running ads for some of the big names. I worked with the Grant Cardone team last year. So I still running ads for Frank Kern, and then doing some of my own stuff, and then my company. So that's
incredible.
Does that make sense?
That's insane. Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I love the fact that, since let's just quickly go back to the very beginning where you had a basic corporate job, right? And I heard like a few words, being comfortable and sort of like looking long-term, right? So that's what I want to touch upon, because I believe that a lot of people right now are in this comfortable bubble that they have built for themselves, because they are in a job, they are having that sort of lifestyle that they have built for themselves. And as you said, you were comfortable. So you were like, why do I need to change that? But then you went ahead and looked 10 years into the future, and what will happen if I stay here for 10 years? And probably the answer was not really a lot. Like, I would stay where I am. And, that thought of being here 10 years in the future is not really pleasant, right? So to everybody watching at home, perhaps, do the same as Hernan did, that you look 10 years into the future and look about like, all right, if I stay where I am today and do the same thing for 10 years, what will actually happen, right? So then you decided to get away from that. You started freelancing. And when did you realize, all right, there is something to this whole thing? And you sort of had like your breakthrough moment where you were like, all right, now I can put food on the table and heat my house as well.
Right. So I think it was when I put together this Fiverr profile, right? And I said, okay, well, let's give this a shot. Working online or from home wasn't a thing, back in the day. Like, this was like 7 years ago. It wasn't a thing. Not here, at least in Argentina and South America. It wasn't a thing. Anyone, like, nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
And then every one of my friends had a corporate job and they were making good money, right? But I think that I say, okay, let's do this. I was testing a bunch of different stuff. And I say, okay, let's do this Fiverr thing. Let's see how that goes. These are my skill sets. This is the stuff that I'm learning about, and this is the stuff that I want to learn about. And then I think that the breakthrough was the first order. The first time somebody clicked on my profile and said, I want this guy to write an article, 300, 400 words article in English for me. That was like, okay, well, if there's something there, right? There's money that somebody gave me online, and a stranger gave me online. I was like, okay, so if I can keep on doing this and multiply this, of course, I was like my cap was the hours that I can put in, right?
Sure.
So if I can keep doing this and I can keep, chugging along, then I started doing the math in my head. And then also the fact that I was living here and I was making money in US dollars. So I could kind of, everyone that's not in the US can kind of leverage that fact. So I was like, okay, I do the math, and then if I write X amount of articles per hour, it will mean X amount of, money and whatnot. And that's how everything started to, become what it is, what it was back in the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that, because I still remember my first time where I made money online, it was just like this epiphany moment, like, oh my God, it works, right? There's something to it. I can make money sitting at home right here. And perhaps, you at some point set something up once, and then all of a sudden, money is just coming in, sort of magically almost, right? So how did that make you feel to realize, all right, there is something here? Because I believe that a lot of people would love, or like, I love to hear those stories of how it makes you feel to realize that there's something here.
Yeah. So I was surprised. I was surprised. I was like, I would say, wary, because I would say, well, okay, what's going on here? When it's the first time. But then I was really excited, really excited when I realized that it was for real. I was really excited. And then, I felt that there was a breakthrough there. Like today, to this day, I'm running successful campaigns and funnels and all of that. And to this day, still surprise me and, makes me happy when somebody out of the internet, a complete stranger, decides to put out their credit card and, swipe it and buy your products and services. I still, that's pretty cool. To this day, it doesn't cease to amaze me. So
I think that's also good to still have that, excitement every single time, it comes through, because perhaps at some point when you are as far as you are, basically perhaps gets like sort of not boring, but it's important to have this excitement, going on all the time, every single time you basically make a sale. Or because I loved it personally every single time where I got an email, from Warrior Plus or, wherever, that, hey, you made a sale. And just this email was like, it was just amazing to get that, right? So I totally agree with you. And how long have been then going on with Fiverr before moving on to sort of like, paid ads and, creating pages for others?
So from Fiverr, that's actually a good question. I think it was maybe for anywhere from 8 months to a year that I was doing that. And then on the side, some of the advantages of going, the Fiverr route, if you don't know what to do, but you do have a skill set, just go in there on Upwork or whatever. And is that people will reach out to you outside of those platforms. If you do a good job, right? If you do a good job with your community, if you're over delivering, people will reach out to you outside of those platforms to actually, hire you. So I started doing that. And then I started, getting my own portfolio of clients, and they would pay, of course, much more than they were paying Fiverr, because they want to retain you and they want to, for you to keep doing stuff. So I would say it took, a solid year for me to get off completely out of that, and then pause my profile there, because I was like kind of scared. So I kept on doing those one-offs type stuff while I still got my clients. And so, it took me like a solid year maybe to go from that to being self-sustainable in regards of clients, and then asking, and then clients, once you have them, once you over deliver, they start asking you for more stuff, right? So some of them ask me for web design, and then SEO, and then some other type of traffic. So that was pretty cool.
And you just mentioned the word that you were scared at this point. How did you deal with being scared? Because obviously going from this comfortable, job that you had into the unknown World Wide Web, basically trying to create something on their own while everybody else, in your friends has, all the jobs, all the money, that obviously it is scary, right? And I think a lot of people will agree that the thought of just creating something on their own is scary. So how did you deal with that thought of, being scared of the unknown, basically?
Yeah. So It's like I've heard somewhere that courage is not the lack of fear, is the the inaction because of that fear. So you're scared and you do it anyways, basically. But I think that what was scaring me more at that point was the fact of this projection of a 10 years in advance, and then that scared me more than whatever could be out there, right? So staying the same scared me more than changing. And it usually it does the same to me right now. So at this point where there's always a new threshold, there's always a new barrier, there's always an investment that you're not willing to make or not ready to make, but you want to be mentor, you need to be coach, you need to unlock those secrets, you need to go to a conference and whatnot, and sometimes you're not ready to do that. But staying the same scares me more than changing or improving or even being better, because at that point I was testing a bunch of different stuff, and it was like a solid 6 months until I found this Fiverr thing. So it was like 6 months of just testing stuff that didn't work, investing money that I didn't have, in courses and whatnot. So and it was tough. It still kind of is like, even if you get this award and you get that, you get to work with these guys, it doesn't go away. It's just a matter of you get trained to actually act, and take action, even if you're scared. So that is something that you learn. It's like a mental gymnastic that you do. The first time you do it, it's the worst time, and then you kind of get better as you go through. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So acting in spite of fear, that's definitely something that I learned a long time ago, because fear will always be there. And as you said, like the more you grow, the sort of like bigger the thresholds at some point will be, and you will always have that fear. But acting in spite of fear is definitely a good piece of advice that I will totally put my name under for everybody that is out there trying to go on their own and do amazing stuff. So what were some of the other obstacles that you sort of had during that time of Fiverr, and then also sort of finding clients or working with clients? That you had some obstacles there that you learned some from?
Yeah, for sure. So, first off, I didn't have connections, of course. I didn't have anyone that I could turn around and say, hey, why don't we do this together? Like entrepreneurship usually is pretty lonely unless you learn how to, surround yourself with other entrepreneurs, because usually 99% of the people out there are not entrepreneurs, right? They're not doing their own stuff and not even working from home. So that was the one thing. It was the lack of support and the lack of resources to actually turn around and ask questions. And then it happens right now. You go into a Facebook group, you ask a question, you get like 70 different responses, often conflicting. And it happened back in the day, back like 7 years ago, you went into the discussion forums, discussion boards, and then you asked the same thing, and then it was the same thing, right? It was like you get 10, 15 different conflicting information. So that was one of the things that I had to learn, and I had to kind of discern and pick the, I would say pick the golden nuggets. And the only way that you can actually know that or do that is by testing, because you can like fill your mind with information, but then until you do not test, you're not sure that will happen for you, that will work for you. So that was the one thing. Then another thing, growing in a third world country, it's also hard with infrastructure. Electricity goes out from time to time, stuff doesn't happen, internet doesn't work and whatnot. And then you need to learn how to circumvent and go around that. So, it still happens to this day, but right now I have the opportunity to actually build an infrastructure on my own, so that has to be more dependent. So back when I was studying, I would say it was hard mostly on those two regards, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree that information overload is a very, very serious topic in today's world, since, there's so much information out there and so easily available that it's sort of like challenging to pick out the cherries, from all the stuff, because everybody can share their opinion, but not everybody's opinion or everybody's, facts are actually facts, right? So, I love the saying that you only find out what actually works if you test it. And for you, since you are now ads guy, testing is basically everything, right?
Oh yeah. So, everything is a test. 100% of the time, everything is a test. Even if we know that, you have a proven funnel, you have a proven campaign or whatever, proven creatives, we're testing all the time. And I am wrong, I would say 110% of the times that I think, okay, this is going to work,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't work, and well, this is not going to work, and then it crushes it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to kind of you learn to think like that. You're continually experimenting and testing. So.
Yeah, and I love that. And I would love to go into that fact of what actually works and what things didn't you realize could work, but actually ended up working, in just a few moments. But I would love to, wrap up sort of like this personal journey thing. So during that time, have you been reading any significant books that have had a positive impact on you?
Yeah, great question. So the first book that I read about freelancing and stuff was the 4 Hour Work Week. That was pretty good.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I came across the 10X Rule from Grant Cardone before Grant Cardone was Grant Cardone. So this was like a while ago, and I heard I listened to the audiobook. Actually, I read the book and then I listened to the audiobook. That was pretty good. And then some other of the marketing classics like Breakthrough Advertising. I read it online. I was like, up until recently that I was able to get a copy of that. And then I think those 3 were the ones that were really
awesome.
Like they were really, really good material. I'm pretty sure that I'm forgetting like 10,000 books, but
yeah.
those 3 are the ones that are coming to mind right now.
Yeah, there are obviously amazing, a ton of amazing books, right? That everybody should basically read. But the most important part is actually taking action on the stuff that you read, right? Because we've already talked about that. Only when you test, you will find out what works and what doesn't. And next to books, you also obviously mentioned that you had sort of like masterminds or coaches, mentors. Who did you learn from the most during that time of getting clients, being a freelancer, getting into ads as well?
Frank Kern. Without a shadow of a doubt. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And now I'm, grateful and honored to be part of his team, to be running his ads. So yeah, without a doubt, it was him. I was following him, since the beginning of time, I would say 10 years ago. I started. So yeah, I mean, the stuff that he put out, both free and paid, really make an impact, really made an impact on the way, I think about advertising and online marketing and marketing in general right now. So yeah.
And was the fact that you basically consumed all his stuff a factor when it came to later than working for him?
Well, like with him? I mean, probably. So I mean, so it definitely helped becoming part of his network. The fact that, because I've been following him for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then what I did was to join his inner circle. This was like 2018. So at the beginning of 2018. So I joined his inner circle, and I was really helpful on his inner circle, which is one of the things that I would recommend to everyone wanting to network their way in or wanted to, to make a name for themselves. Is just be super helpful and super consistently helpful in one specific area, one specific, group or whatever. So for instance, I've been doing a test of being helpful every single day on the ClickFunnels group for the past 2 weeks. And it's incredible the amount of opportunity that has come out of 2 weeks of doing that. So there's never an excuse for you not to have a network, not to do this and whatnot. So, so I started doing that on his Facebook group, his inner circle, his membership. And then Tyler, one of the guys, for the team, super cool dude, Tyler Dorsey, he reached out to me and he said, "Hey dude, do you want to moderate? Do you want to help us moderate the Facebook group? We noticed that you're really, helpful and whatnot." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So, we'll comp you your membership. You need to pay, you can moderate. And I kept on doing that. And then at some point, Brad Bearden came on board, super cool dude as well, marketing genius. He came on board. He became Frank's right hand, and this was at the end, the middle, like September 2018.
Okay.
And then they started putting together an agency, right? Frank Kern started to put together an agency within his, his audience and whatnot. Started to do Facebook ads for clients. And of course, when you're doing an agency, you need somebody to deliver the service. So Brad reached out to me, say, "Hey, dude, do you want to come on board to this agency?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, of course. What do I need to do?" "Well, you need to do Facebook ads and campaigns for Frank's clients." And I say, "Yeah, sure, of course." And the agency started growing at some point. It started doing okay. And then March 2019, Brad decided to do his own thing. And then I kind of started filling in the gaps, filling that void, right? Of somebody really like running the campaigns for Frank, doing a bunch of the coaching for his clients. And then March 2019, Frank and Grant Cardone partnered up.
Oh, okay.
And that was the beginning of Cardone Current Advertising Agency. So during most of 2019, if not all of it, we were focused on growing that agency that went from 3 to 6. Well, it was a small team of 6-7 people, up to 55 people at the end of 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
We went from 20 accounts to north of 200, right? And
oh my God.
10 months. Yeah, it was insane. So I was like taking in all of the media buyers, training all of the media buyers. I had a team of 15 plus media buyers. Then we also had a strategy team that developed all of the media strategy for all of the clients. I had like more than half of the agency was under my command, which was a terrible idea, by the way. Insane idea. I didn't know how we got to that, but anyways, that was a great experience. And I was also running all of the marketing for the agency, right? All of the ad campaigns for the agency and all of the to get leads for the salespeople. So that was pretty cool. And then the end of 2019. Frank and Grant separated, whatnot. So I kept on doing the ads for Frank. So that was a pretty cool experience. But that all came up out of consuming his content, being really, open to the idea of helping as much as possible. And that's how it all came up to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And, congratulations on this journey, because obviously I bet, there were lots of learnings that you got from the time we're working so, focused on the agency of Grant Cardone and Frank Kern, because those are like very big guys, obviously, and they have lots of amazing stuff to share. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
now
it was a lot of learning. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And now you are mainly focused on running Facebook ads for Frank Kern and also other people, right?
Yeah. So I serve some clients in a specific capacity. My team is small. I have a small team of people working here, half here in Argentina, half in the US. So I have a small team of people, and we do serve some clients on a case by case capacity. I don't want to, I don't want to have a huge agency. I already has that, but
you know how it is.
So my team is pretty small. So right now, I'm focused on that. I'm focused on growing my companies as well, and I'm also focusing on getting the message out there. So that's why I started putting a lot more content online. A lot more personal branding. I've always been the guy kind of behind the scenes, so now I'm starting to get a little bit more out there, and I have some programs as well. So that's basically the idea and the focus for 2020 is to help as many entrepreneurs as possible to make their ads more profitable, their marketing campaigns a little more profitable. So that's the whole idea.
Fantastic. Then since while we are at this topic right now, let's get straight into, the golden nuggets. And let me start off, what is your favorite media platform that you buy ads from?
Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram. Why Facebook and Instagram?
I think that, so here's the deal. A lot of people are struggling with those two networks at the moment, or with, Facebook being Instagram being part of Facebook. And the reason why is because the costs of advertising on Facebook are clearly rising, right? So a lot of people are, and the policies that Facebook are running, they're migrating. Like a lot of advertisers are migrating from Facebook to Google and YouTube and whatnot, which is great. I think it's a great opportunity if you keep on doing Facebook ads. And the reason why is because while that is true, the cost of advertising has been going up. Because Facebook has a limited inventory, while Google and YouTube, they don't have limited inventory. Their inventory to buy ads from is pretty much unlimited. If you go to YouTube, there are like millions of videos being uploaded every single day. And then Google also has they have the Google Display Network, which is 10 times bigger than Facebook. So they have kind of figured that out. So there's never a limit of how much traffic you can get out of that. On Facebook, though, since the inventory is limited, the costs are rising. But I think that the targeting capabilities on Facebook are second to none. The ability for you to target people based on behavior, likes, the stuff that they do on a daily basis, the page they likes, who they follow. And I think and then present them with really valuable information, not just pitch, not just offers and whatnot, but really, really valuable information allows you to lower your cost of advertising, and B, grow huge audiences on Facebook for really cheap, for pennies on the dollar at this point, which is a huge opportunity because most of the Facebook advertisers or most of the advertisers that are on Facebook are going for the kill. That basically means, they run an ad that goes to an opt-in for a free PDF, or they run an ad that goes to a webinar or to a funnel to buy anything and whatnot. And that's great. That still works, but the advertising costs going up, they put a lot of pressure in your funnel, right? Because now you need to recoup those costs of advertising. So, but when you kind of approach this from a perspective of let's put out a lot of good quality content out there, run it through specific channels and using specific campaigns objectives, and build audiences based off of that consumption, and then retarget those people with your offers. I think that is helping us cope and kind of circumvent the fact that the prices are going up. The shutdowns of ad accounts are going way down because people like the content that you're bringing to them. And it's an overall better experience for the user, which is what Facebook wants. It also increases the average order value on your funnels because people, since they're pre-warmed up before they hit your funnel, that allows them to buy more from you and more frequently, right? So that's basically the strategy that we're applying right now, which is making me super hopeful about Facebook and super excited about the results that I'm seeing. So
that's pretty interesting because I'm noticing like I've never really dove deep into Facebook ads like I wanted to, but I, as probably a lot of other people, were sort of scared of, going into it long term and willingly losing money, because that's sort of, how it looks like. You're basically burning cash all the time once you turn on the ad, and then you see, all right, a couple of clicks for a couple of dollars, and you're like, I don't know if this is working, right? So it's very interesting, and I believe that a lot of people thinking about going into Facebook ads might have a few misconceptions or misunderstandings when it comes to this platform. So what do you see are the main misconceptions that people have when it comes to going into paid advertising?
Yeah, that's actually a great point. So I think that the number one thing that when you're going as a maybe you have a business, you have a working business, but you've never advertised before. Comparing paid ads with organic traffic, like paid traffic to organic traffic, is a sure way to stop your paid ad campaigns and never touch them again, right? Because when you're getting all of these people that are following you, that they know who you are, they understand your message, they understand where you're coming from, and then you send them into an offer, you send them into a sales page or whatever, then at that point, it's really easy, or it's easier to convert them into buyers or or high ticket offers or whatever. Now, when it comes to paid advertising, it's a little bit different because most people, they do not know who you are. And specifically on Facebook, we're using something that is called interrupting advertising, where interrupt, they're scrolling, right? They're scrolling through stuff. And what we're trying to do is to stop them on their tracks and pay attention to us. So that is called interrupting. We're interrupting them versus Google or YouTube where they're typing in a keyword. So that's intent advertising. So what happens there is that people tend to compare paid traffic with organic traffic, and then they send a couple clicks, they spend a couple $100, and then it doesn't work as expected. So they shut down their campaigns. Now, the problem with organic is that organic, number one, it's not scalable. It takes a long time for you to scale, right? If this is selling okay, you want more people to buy it. It's really hard to achieve that with organic, right? It takes a long time. Number two, you're always dependent on a source of traffic like Google or Instagram or whatever, which would happen with Facebook if you're heavily depending on Facebook ads as well. So I'm just saying, don't depend on just one source of traffic. Build a brand that will be protected, right? Use organic and use paid to grow the organic and get more people through your offers. So when people start comparing that, I think that there's a disconnect. And the always thing that I say is, listen, your campaigns for the first month are going to be terrible. They're going to be terrible. Then on month number 2, they're going to be a little bit better. And then on month number 3, you will start getting sales and you will start recouping some of the investment that you made. So that is, and then you need to be willing to put money,
Yeah.
where you're not going to see any return, which is
Yeah.
something that a lot of people are not
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with. But if you want to grow your business,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, there's no other way than advertising, to get to those people that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, yeah. And what's sort of like the budget that you need in order to be able to sort of successfully go into paid ads? Because for me, for example, like I don't have a huge marketing budget that I can just, just throw out there willingly, knowing that I will be losing money for the first, few months before recouping the investment. But what's sort of like the budget that you need sort of to have in order to be successful going into paid ads?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. And it definitely depends on the niche that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're selling, I don't know, financial services,
Mm-hmm.
the cost of a lead for you will be much higher than somebody that sells, I don't know, how to grow a tomato gardening,
Yeah.
tomato plants or whatever. So on those cases, there will be a
Mm-hmm.
difference in lead costs. But so when we were building the agency,
Mm-hmm.
most of the clients, I would say 95% of the clients that we had were small
Mm-hmm.
business owners without
Mm-hmm.
huge budgets. And we were recommending anywhere between $50 to $100 a day on ad spend, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that is something that some people would afford to do that. Some people won't. But if you want to start on the low end,
Mm-hmm.
$50 a day, it usually cuts it. Then
Mm-hmm.
the remaining 5% of people that would come to the agency would come with big budgets, already working campaigns, and they just needed help scaling. So
Mm-hmm.
that is something that we would do as well. But that was basically where we were starting, and we were telling them, hey, listen, you need to be willing to invest $1,500 a month for the next 3 months for this to work.
Mm-hmm.
Not because we say so, but because we're going to be building audiences, we're going to be sending traffic to your website, and then we need to dial these two things out, and then it's going to take a while. So that's basically, that was our angle. And most of them were like small business owners, mom and pop shops, local, businesses and all of that. So
yeah. And what about private entrepreneurs, I would say, like people like me? Would you recommend then sort of staying away from paid ads if you cannot spend $50 a day over like 30 days or 60 days? Or what's the point? Like, would you recommend still paid ads with, let's say, a budget of perhaps like $10 a day? Is that something you can still do for like a private person?
That's actually a good question. So if you have, let's say, $500 a day or something like that, 300 to $500 a day, I wouldn't expect you to achieve much in terms of, testing a bunch of different stuff and sending traffic to different funnels and all of that. But what you can do, though, which is something that I'm really excited about, is to accelerate your organic results. Because for the private entrepreneur, maybe you're out there, you have this platform, you have this podcast, or you have an Instagram presence or a Facebook presence and whatnot. And what you can do is to accelerate the results that you're getting, accelerate the amount of views that you get, the amount of downloads that you get for your podcast, the amount of subscribers that you get with a really low budget. And the reason why is because, the simple example is to, let's say that you decide to upload this video to Facebook, to your Facebook page, you add a little bit of copy, and then you say, hey, if you want more to, subscribe on iTunes or subscribe here for the podcast, et cetera, you maybe are giving something away for free, like a free guide to build your list. You can literally grab that piece of content and boost it, like use the boost a post button on Facebook, and then that's like $5 a day, and you can reach 10 to 15 to 20 times the amount of people that you will reach if you just put it out there, and that's it. Because organic reach, it's really, really bad. And Instagram, just changed a couple of things and made the organic reach even worse. So that is something that you can do, is to boost that post to reach all of those people that, you wouldn't have reached otherwise. And then you keep on doing that. So every time you have a new piece of content, you keep on doing that. And what you will realize is that some of those content pieces will perform much better than others. For whatever reason, people will engage with them more. They will comment, they will like, they will share much more than some other content pieces. So that's giving you data. That's giving you data that you can use to craft, to refine your message, to talk more about that. And that you can do it with $5 a day using something that, like, for instance, you can use the engagement campaign objective on Facebook or the video views campaign objective on Facebook. Those two are still like super cheap, and they allow you to mostly collect data and accelerate the results that you're getting with your paid ad or with your organic stuff. Does that make sense?
That's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing with that, because as I said, like I'm starting out with Facebook ads. I've never really done it professionally and never went on, for like longer than probably like 5 to 10 days of running an ad and realizing, money is burning quickly here. I'm probably just going to start that. So that's a great strategy of just boosting the engagement and sort of like accelerating the organic growth. So thank you for sharing that strategy. And while we are on strategy, 2020, what is working right now? Because you obviously shared already to sort of give a lot of value, but do not go for the kill, do not go for the hard sell, which I was thinking is sort of like the main way that people do it, of sending people, have a little bit of copy, have a picture or a little video, give them a free PDF, and then you collect their email address, and then, you do all the rest in the autoresponder basically. But you already touched upon a different strategy. So shed some light on that.
So for 2020, I'm really excited about what I just told you. And the reason why is because I always say that advertising gets better through time, right? The more you advertise, the better your ads perform for a couple of reasons. At the very fundamental human level is that people start seeing your face much more on their timeline, right? And, this breeds a familiar face, which breeds trust, which breeds, likeness and the idea that people want to do business with you. When somebody shows up on your timeline for the first time, you're always saying, who is this guy, right? But then as they start showing more, and then as they start producing content and actually helping you, this is something that I learned from Frank, is you can show people that your product or service can help them by actually helping them right now. So so when you start doing that, people start liking you and knowing you and trusting you, so that there's a high chance that they will do business with you. So that's the first thing. Then the other thing, it has to do with the pixel, the data that you're collecting through the fact that you're doing this. So if you're doing this, you're getting traffic to your funnel in one way, shape, or form. People are finding your links, they're clicking on them, they're downloading your stuff and whatnot. And that actually teaches or helps the Facebook pixel become smarter. So at some point you will have data on your pixel, and you will notice that the ads that you're running are becoming better because the quality of the leads that you're getting are becoming better. So it's always really important that two things will happen, is that you always run ads in a sustainable fashion, meaning if you can only invest $5 a day, but you can do it consistently, it's better than investing $3,000 in 2 weeks and then never turn your ads anymore. It's better to do that consistently. So that is that. But then also the fact that right now Facebook loves when people stay within the platform. So when you're sending people to a landing page, when you're using the conversion objective, you're actually paying a premium for that. Because you're also leveraging the machine learning algorithm that they have. So they charge you for that, right? They charge you for the usage. So that's why, that's why you're paying more. If you check the cost per instance, which is called CPM, you have a column on Facebook. If you run an engagement campaign versus a conversion campaign, you will be paying 3 times as much CPM, the cost per 1,000 impression. So something that I really like is that, but when I'm saying helpful content, the helpful content also gives you a license to actually pitch, actually present offers with your content. So, a lot of people are saying, well, I'm going to be putting content out there, but I'm afraid of pitching. And when you're putting content out there, and when you're helpful, that kind of gives you the license to pitch. So the pitch can be, hey, download my free guide here, or hey, download, this XYZ, or join my program here, join my Facebook group here, blah, blah, blah. And I recommend that if you're putting out content like that in video format, I'm testing with a bunch of different video formats. The best right now that work are selfie videos recorded like this with your funnel, straight, vertical videos recorded like this. And those usually work really well in terms of consumption, mostly because they occupy much more real estate on the mobile phone, screens. And then 80% of the traffic that you will get on Facebook will be mobile anyways. So vertical videos, 5 to 7 minutes, being really, really helpful. And you want to make a pitch or a call to action at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. That's it. If you do that, and then you boost those posts, you boost those videos with $5 a day or $10 a day, whatever your budget is, you will start seeing that people will start typing in your URLs, going into your funnel pages and whatnot. I recommend also getting a really simple to remember domain. Like for instance, you will see Frank doing kernclass.com,
Mm-hmm.
or I have a couple like adsguide2020.com. So I
Yeah.
mentioned that a couple times on my ads
Mm-hmm.
and on my videos, and then people will end up typing in
Okay.
those domains, right? So that is something that is working right now. It's a low budget, low maintenance. You just need to be consistent with your content and consistent with your advertising. Does that make
Can I
sense?
quickly? Yeah, that totally makes sense. And with that approach of making like a 5 to 7 minute vertical selfie video, sort of, and you said, have a CTA at the beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Do you just basically boost that video to get more engagement, but you do not have a call to action objective, right? So you do not have like, hey, click here, and you basically pay. You just pay for the video views, but not for people clicking through to your site.
Correct.
Okay. So you basically you utilize the easy sort of to remember domain and just tell them like, hey, if you want to know more about or have this PDF, go to blah blah blah, and then basically just because of that, they will be so like perhaps if it's interesting enough, they will go and actually type in the domain to find out more about that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So that is the first thing that happens. You also want to have the call to actions in the body copy.
Yeah.
When you create the post on your on your Facebook page, you want to have the copy and whatnot. You want to have links, and then you can have links in the comments as well. But basically what you're doing is you're showing the video to a bunch of different people. You're not paying a premium for a click or for a conversion. And then something else that happens is that when you get people consuming those videos, when you get people watching 10% or 25% of those videos, 50% of those videos, 75% of those videos, 10 seconds of those videos and whatnot. If you have a 5-minute video on Facebook, 50% means 2.5 minutes on Facebook of actual watch time, which is a long time for Facebook, right? And what you can do is you can do something called custom audiences. So you can create audiences based off everyone that watched a video around the topic, and then you can show them more ads. Then at that point, when your budget goes a little bit higher, then you can spend like $100 or $200 a month to show them ads that are related to an offer. You can show them to a PDF, or you can send them to a product or whatever. But the fact that you can create audiences before they even hit your funnel and before they even, visit your website and whatnot, I think that's one of the powerful things that you can do with Facebook. So for instance, right now I'm getting, and again, this will vary from market to market. I'm giving you my results. I have a couple of videos out there that they're having like anywhere between 10 to 12 cents per completed video view. It's a 7-minute video or a 5-minute video. So I'm paying 10 cents for somebody to watch the entire video.
Wow.
And that is a big thing, because if you wanted to put somebody on a list, on an email list, it will cost you much more than 10 cents. And then we're talking about big four, the big four countries. We're talking about Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, United States. We're talking about, and people that like entrepreneurship, that like Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, so this interests that are heavily sought after, and they have usually a lot of competition. But think about what you can do when you have 10, 15, 20 cents per completed video view. And if you have a $300 to $500 budget, you can get a lot of people into your custom audiences. Yeah.
It's a genius, way of doing it, especially when you have a low budget. You can still utilize the power of Facebook ads. And I totally agree. Like that's a fantastic strategy. Thank you for sharing with that. I'll definitely, go into that, because I asked myself, like, how could I utilize Facebook ads, or how can like little people just starting out, get the best bang for their buck, especially with Facebook ads. So that's fantastic. So since we are on the topic of sort of strategies, what are some things where you thought like, oh, this is never going to work out, but ended up being really, really good?
So for instance, there's this type of funnel that is called so let me back up a little bit. So most of advertisers, when they are trying to go into Facebook ads and any type of paid media, they want to invest $1 today and then want to make $2 back as soon as possible, right? Yeah. Or that's how, that's the pitch that they use to show you, Facebook ad scores. We're investing 50 grand and we got $150,000 back over the first 30 days and whatnot. And that's great and all, but that's one of the hardest things to do, online. That you need to pull that off. You need to test a bunch of stuff, your copy, your offer, everything, your ads, they really need to be dialed in for you to achieve that. It is achievable, of course. I've done it, whatnot. But what I've seen most of the big companies like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels, like Dean Graziosi, also Frank Kern, I see Tony Robbins doing it, I see Grant Cardone doing it, is that they have two funnels. Mostly they have two funnels. The first sales funnel is called an acquisition sales funnel. And the acquisition sales funnel, it usually starts with a book. Okay. You know, those free plus shipping type of offers that are out there. You can get traffic secrets for free plus shipping, or, you know, the millionaire booklet for free plus shipping and whatnot. Yeah. And what happens there is that these companies, what they're doing is they're putting a book in front of you because people already know books. They know that, you know, they don't need an explanation because everyone knows what a book is. But they have additional offers on the same funnel, right? You buy the book, but then you can buy another thing for $20. Maybe the book is $5 and you can buy another thing for $20. And then you have an upsell for $97, and then you have another upsell for $300 and whatnot. And what happens is that with that funnel, they are acquiring buyers. They're acquiring customers at scale. Yeah. So for instance, at some point we were running ads for a book funnel for Frank, and we were paying anywhere between $30 to $35 to acquire a new customer from paid advertising. And that was basically our average order value. It was around $30 to $35 to $40. So it was a wash. It was a wash. Yeah. So the sole purpose of that funnel is to liquidate your ad cost, right? And some people are even going at a loss at that book fund. So they're saying, well, I'm paying $50 to acquire a new book buyer, but my average order value is $40. They don't care. The reason they don't care is because they are putting a bunch of buyers, and the difference between a lead and a buyer is substantial in terms of mindset, right, of somebody. Even if they gave you $1, it doesn't matter. Ryan Dice talks about this a lot, the difference between leads and purchasers. And what happens is that you get a slew of people into your autoresponder, buyers, right, people that you have their credit card information, and then you sell them something else. So if you're making your money back immediately or over the first 30 days, I'm not saying make money like actually profit, but making your advertising cost back, then your advertising cost is completely for free. Then what happens is that everything else that you offer to them through email, through, you know, sales and whatnot, that is complete profit to your company. And that is what most of these companies are doing, right? They're selling information on the front end, and then on the back end, they're selling their main thing, whatever that is. It can be a high ticket program. It can be software in the case of ClickFunnels. It could be whatever. And we deploy something like that for Semantic Mastery. This was like 2 years ago. It was called the SEO Battle Plan. We deployed something like that. It took us a while to make it work from paid ads, but we did it work from paid ads. And that was like our first like acquisition, you know, break-even type of acquisition funnel, where we were able to put a lot of people into our list and that sell them into our mastermind for, you know, I think it's like $400 a month and through a webinar funnel. So that was like the first experience. I also learned that from Frank through his book Funnel Blueprint and whatnot. But that was that, I think, and that is something that I would recommend people that have a little bit more of a budget, because it does require you to invest a little bit more in ads. That they can deploy, that they can apply, because that could be a game changer for any business.
But it doesn't need to be certainly a book, right? Because, for example, like all those big people, obviously they have a book, they have a name, they have a brand, but somebody who might have a little bit more of a budget can use that same strategy with a $5, you know, PDF or, you know, whatever that is basically teaching a certain topic, right?
Yes, for sure. So usually what you do is you start with the end in mind, whatever you want to sell on the back end, and then you splinter off a little piece of that thing that you're selling on the back end, and you sell that as a $5, $3, $7 product.
And in the end, it's all basically math, right? Because as you said, like they know their numbers, they know, you know, how much they need to spend on acquiring a new customer and how much this customer will be worth, you know, in the long run. So once you can do the math and once you can figure it out, then, you know, it will be just much easier, and you will not have the same fear, you know, just dropping money into that, because, you know, at some point you will be able to get that, you know, out. Fantastic. So, and a couple of other questions that I have is how much does obviously there are obviously a lot of questions about ad copy. Is short form copy better or long form copy better? You know, length of video, we already talked about that, 5 to 7 minutes. What about the copy? How much does it matter when there is a video involved as well?
So It actually depends, like for images, and it actually depends on your state of the campaign, right? If you're going out there for the kill with images, you need to do a lot of heavy lifting on your copy.
Yeah.
I think my longer ads, or one of the longest ads that I have, is 3,600 words. So it's like an article on Facebook, you know, whatnot. So, and they work really well. I like, you know, writing some of those long form copies when you're actually teaching on the ad itself. That's why it works so well, because you're actually teaching on the ad, and then you present a call to action at the end. So if you're running image ads, they work extremely well. Number one. Number two, if you have a video, then you can left the video to do most of the heavy lifting for you, and then do a little bit more short copy. And then if you're doing what I just told you, which is boost those posts, build those audiences, when people are warmed up, they already know who you are. Your copy doesn't have to be stellar, you know, because have generated that bond and that relationship with somebody before they even see your pitch ads. So again, it depends on where they are, but I think that they all have their place. It just needs to be the right place where people are, in terms of, do they know you? Do they do not know you? And if they do know you, you need to earn the right to ask them for the click. That's why I like to, you know, do these long form copy type of posts, you know?
Yeah. And when it comes to, absolutely. And when it comes to making videos, like I believe that why vertical, you know, selfie videos work so well, because they're like sort of like non-intrusive. They're like, you know, it feels natural, right? Because that's the platform that they're on. And do you see like a difference between, like, because I'm asking myself right now, like, how professional should the video sort of be? Is it better to make it intentionally with flaws? So where you basically, you know, have the video and you screw up a few times, you know, saying it, and you're like, or should you rather make it a little bit more professional, you know, put some cuts into it, and, you know, then use that kind of video?
Right. Great question. So the more native, the better, the material. Native meaning that it belongs to the platform that it's being shown to. If you're going to run a video on LinkedIn, I would say, hey, make it super professional, wear a tie, you know, do this, do that. If you're going to run a video on Facebook, then it can be a little bit more natural. It could be a little bit more native, because the same with images, right? Images play a big role. I always say, hey, use native aspirational images, meaning they belong to the platform that they're being shown to, and they portray the benefit of working with you. So literally the best videos that I have out there, I do have ums and ahs and whatnot, and then I tell people, hey, come follow me to that whiteboard down there, and then I do that. So those are the best videos, because they're native to the platform that they're being shown into.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what are your thoughts about memes? Like, I saw a few, you know, ads including some memes that kind of like sort of target the millennials, and because, you know, memes are so big right now, do they work?
It depends. Like, I'm not using them much, because mostly my demographic is another demographic. But if you try it out, that's why I'm always saying, hey, test them out. If you try them out, if you test them out and they work for you, by all means, go ahead and do it. It depends on the product that you're selling. I think that in some cases there are memes are better. If you're selling something like financial advisory or whatever, then it might require something else.
Yeah. And what do you think, you know, is making a great ad campaign a great ad campaign? Like, what we always talked about that everything plays sort of a major role, and it sort of, you know, needs to be this whole good thing. But what makes a great ad campaign, if that makes sense?
So a great ad campaign, I think that it's a campaign that is building your business, is going to be an asset. So it's building your business right now. It's getting you leads and customers right now, but also it's building your business over the next 3 to 6 months. So for instance, you can go again for the kill, harvest all of the low hanging fruit and get all of the people to convert and then struggle, or you can do that, but also you can build relationships with people that will be ready to buy over the next 3 to 6 to 9 months. So it's always building your business, getting you leads right now, but also priming the pump, if you would, or developing relationships so that you can get a constant flow of leads. I think that a campaign is an asset, and it can build your business. An ad is an asset, a landing page is an asset, and it can really build your business.
Fantastic. All right. We're getting close to the 1 hour mark of the interview, and I could go on and on asking you a bunch of questions about what is working, what is not working. But guys, if you want to learn more about Hernan Vazquez and how he can help you, how can they reach you then?
If you search for my name, you'll probably
Mm-hmm.
find me. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. I have a bunch of content on YouTube there. So you can find me there. Yeah, the social networks, Hernan Vazquez Marketing on Instagram. So happy to help you guys. If you leave a comment somewhere, I read everything. So, you know, I try to be as helpful as possible. So
awesome. And you also have a website, adsguide2020.com. That's where they can find.
adsguide2020.com. Yeah, it's a little bit of a guidebook that I put together. It's a book funnel, so you will notice that I have additional upsells and whatnot. So now
Fantastic.
you know why, and I have order bumps and whatnot. You're welcome to take them all or any of them. It's fine.
Amazing.
And I put together that guidebook to show you, you know, the step-by-step of how to build a Facebook ads campaign from scratch.
Awesome. All right. Then before we wrap up this interview, there's always one question I love asking people because, you know, just the answers of that question are always sort of amazing. And, you know, they're, in a wide variety of, you know, answers. So that question is like, if you could teach the entire world one single concept, one mindset, or one fact that they would understand to have a positive impact on the whole world, basically, what would it be?
That's a great question. I think that being as helpful as possible will help you in the long run. It has really helped me in the long run. And I'm a big believer in karma as well. So it goes around, you know, comes around. So I think that being as helpful as possible, don't hold anything back. People will pay you and will, you know, will get closer to you for your generosity and your services anyways. And if they don't, they were never meant to be clients anyways. So that's basically what I think. A lot of people are afraid, saying, well, if I go out there and give away everything, then nobody's going to buy from me. I can certainly tell you that that's not how it works. It actually gets you more clients and more goodwill, which is
that's cool. Fantastic. So guys, put out value as much as you can out there, and the world will, you know, get back to you and give you what you deserve. All right. So fantastic. So guys, if you watched this interview and you enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments down below, and also make sure to subscribe to this channel and leave it a thumbs up so I know that I should create more, you know, podcasts just like this one. And Hernan, thank you so much for getting and taking the time out of your day to be on this podcast, be on this interview, and sharing all those incredibly valuable things. I personally learned a lot. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.